But let's jump into our first review that we've both seen. Let's go into Dumb Money because you've just been able to watch it. I watched it a few weeks ago. Well,
Yeah, it wasn't one that I was able to see in theaters, so it finally dropped on I think like iTunes. So we rented it. I wanted to watch it mainly because I know like so my husband is more into like Reddit and he knows all about this and this whole thing that went down. And I remember when it happened.
nice.
And so I was like, I have to know like how they're going to interpret this story. So I think because I was watching it with somebody who knew so much about the real actual thing, I was like more invested in like
That's really
how
cool.
silly and crazy it was. So that helped. That's why I wanted to watch it. And obviously I love Paul Dano, but I had like no real expectations going into it. So I'm not sure if you knew about everything that went down obviously when this was happening. So I'd be curious to know your thoughts if you had, I guess, a backstory of what was going on, or if you just went in totally blind.
No, I knew. Like, I didn't know
Okay.
exactly. I didn't know anything about like the Robin Hood aspect or anything like that. But I knew about like I knew generally about it. I know one of my I won't say close friends, but like acquaintances got a great sizable amount of money off it.
Yeah.
Whilst he was doing it, it was one of the people there. Everyone was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? This is so stupid." And then he's just didn't listen to anyone and put a down deposit on a house because of it. So well done. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, let's get into it then.
What did you think about Pete Davidson?
Oh, Pete. I mean, he's just playing Pete Davidson,
It's
right? I mean,
exactly
I don't
that.
know. That was not a role I felt like he was acting much. I was dying laughing though at some of his scenes, like the fact that he was eating the person's DoorDash fries and then
Continuously?
dropping it off. Yeah,
Oh, that was great. I expected that's actually what he used to do before SNL as well.
right.
Yeah, he's great.
Maybe that was like a prequel movie to Pete Davidson's life before he started
Yeah.
SNL.
Yeah, it could be it. I love the dynamic between him and Paul Dano. I agree with you. I think Paul
Hmm.
Dano steals this film. I think Seth Rogen's brilliant in this as well, like quietly, as just like a
Yeah.
massive scumbag. But
Hmm.
like I describe this film, it's really like it doesn't do anything spectacular. Like we're in that age of product biopics, right? Like all these different products. I think it started from Social Network being so popular. So they're doing any sort of moment in history around a product, they're gonna make a movie out of it now. And this doesn't do anything special, but it there's a place in the world for these type of movies that are super entertaining and just well done. So that's what kind of how I
Yeah.
like in this movie. Like it's
Yeah,
you
I'm a big comedy person. I feel like that's a genre that I enjoy more than some. And for me, it gave me exactly what I was wanting for that evening that I watched it. It was very self-aware. It knew what it wanted to be. I did see some reviews that people were complaining that like stuff didn't seem fleshed out all the way or they wanted to get to know certain characters. But if you think about, I mean, if you knew the general gist of what had happened, there's no way we were going to be able to get to know every single character.
no,
Like
this
they
is
made this movie with the assumption that kind of what went down. So I don't
yeah.
think there's really a need for much fleshing out of the story. I think it was
This also isn't an 8-part HBO series.
no,
Like
exactly. It
yeah,
wasn't taking itself seriously in the sense of like, an FU to Wall Street type movie, like maybe The Big Short, where they tried to still have comedy, but take a little bit more of a serious approach. This was definitely more of a eccentric approach to a story like that.
for
When you
sure.
have someone like him, like Keith Gill, who is obviously like such a silly person with, his kind of cat stuff and his setup and his outfits. He's not trying to be taken seriously. So I think it worked well for what it was. And I mean, what a star-studded cast
Yeah, it's
for this
ridiculous.
kind of movie.
It's
Didn't
ridiculous.
need to be, but it worked in its favor. I know Craig Gillespie, or the director, he did Pam and Tommy. And
Makes
so he kind of
sense.
had like a preconceived relationship with Seth Rogen and Sebastian Stan. So I think that's why they're in it. And they think they played their roles perfectly. Sebastian Stan is so good at playing a douchebag.
He's
I hate
such
that he is, but
yes,
he is.
he is, but he's such a chameleon. He could do anything. I feel like
Yep.
he's such an underrated actor at the moment. Like he's the
Yep.
Winter Soldier. Sure, go watch Fresh. He's great in Fresh. Like yeah,
Oh yeah.
he's a piece of shit. I'm sure he's a lovely dude in real life. But all in all,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I think Dumb Money is well worth anyone's time. I think it's a
I
very
agree.
entertaining watch. Doesn't do anything spectacular. But I think it's hilarious and yeah, like I learned a lot of shit from it, and I think it's just riddled with great performances.
Yeah, I agree. I think with this type of culture we live in and like the internet meme culture, I think it's perfect for our generation as a great little comedy with a little bit of an FU to Wall Street tied in.
We love that. We love that.
Yeah.
Ash, you got to see Priscilla. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I don't know what you think of it yet. I don't know if you like it or not. I'm praying you do because I'm really looking forward to this fucking movie. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. So I, on a whim, decided to go see a movie by myself. First time for
Well
me.
done.
I know people are shocked by this, but I don't think people understand sometimes, like depending on where you live and also being a female, it's not just like some easy thing that I can just go to the movie anytime I want by myself in the middle of a, dark parking lot and just like casually go watch a movie. That's
Yeah.
just something I've never felt comfortable doing, to be honest. So I went and saw it and I was very happy to be by myself and see something that I wanted to see. I had no expectations for this movie. I saw Elvis last year, thought it was enjoyable. It was good. It wasn't like a favorite of mine. So I didn't know if I was going to like this or not. But the fact that it was from Sofia Coppola and it was from like the perspective of Priscilla,
I love that
I was
idea.
more intrigued than learning about Elvis and like seeing a biopic about his life. Honestly, Harry, it blew me away. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I was not expecting to like it that much. It's actually in my top 10 of the year now. Um, she's just so good at stories about loneliness. And this one in particular, because it's someone that we're all familiar with, this kind of person who's been famous for so long. I don't know. There's just a sense of like connection you feel instantly to her because you can imagine what her life was like, and when you get to watch it and follow along, it kind of starts. I don't want to. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but it starts with her being in high school. She's
Yeah.
14. She met him when she was 14, and he was 24 years old.
Oh,
So just put that in perspective.
that's hard not to
And it's
cringe.
just I know, and it's in the 60s, so this was a time when, it was a different time. That's just the only way I can really say it. Not that it was correct or right, but yeah, so that's basically where you start off and you get to kind of go through her life as she, kind of becomes a young woman. It's very isolating and it's very dream-esque. I don't know, I keep describing it that way. I don't know how else to say it. Like the whole vibe that Sophia creates is very dreamlike. Even though you're in a world where this person is kind of trapped and kind of not probably living the life she should be living, you still feel like you're almost like watching this, like it's like a dream type world. And the
Yeah.
color palette's like very light and pastel-y. Everything is just done so well. I mean, the script is super strong in my opinion. She wrote it and directed it. I think it's her best work, honestly. And I know people kind of have mixed opinions about her. I've seen 4 of her movies now, and this one's my favorite. I think she captures the female experience specifically around loneliness very, very well. Like Priscilla is in every single shot, even if it's just her elbow or her eyelash or her
Oh,
hair
really?
blowing in the wind. Like every shot of the movie, it's like it doesn't take away from still showing her, which I think is really cool. So I really loved it. Kaylee Spaney, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. She was amazing as Priscilla. Jacob Elordi honestly surprised me. I did not know how he was going to be as Elvis. I think he looks more like him than Austin Butler.
Really good.
I'm not
People.
going to compare their experience, their acting, because they're totally different things. One is to tell a completely different story, so I'm not going to compare him in that
For
sense.
sure.
But he looked more like Elvis to me. I think the dark features, and he's so much taller than her. It kind of gave this predatory impression, like how much older and like bigger he was than her. It kind of actually fit. So his height actually ended up working, I think, in their favor for this movie. But yeah, I think a lot of females, especially, will be able to relate to a lot of things here. I think a lot of people will be able to enjoy it. I think it's just a perfect kind of combination of like loneliness and the female experience. That's really the best way I can describe it.
Oh man, I can't wait for this movie now. Well done. What would you say you gave it 4.5?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Okay. Awesome. So it's in your top 10. I cannot wait to see this movie now.